Alrighty guys, welcome back to RPW Investigates War Dragons Seasons Part 2. Now if you missed Part 1, I put that out yesterday, which is the basis of today's video. I really wanted to give everybody a background of what I found in my investigation. Now today we're really going to go through what my final findings were on this, and I'm going to tell you what I think. Now before we go into that, just a quick preview of what we went over yesterday, of course, was the fact that over the seasons, they've always increased pricing. However, they've also increased the size of the stone. Now, in this time frame, of course, I have gotten so many messages where people are like, but what about the free-to-play players? What about them? They're the ones getting screwed over. All right, before I go in to address everything else, I think the perfect example to point out is a farmer. Now, imagine Farmer Joe and Farmer Jack. Farmer Joe, of course, has a big tractor and spends all of his money on making sure that he has the biggest, baddest farm in town. While Farmer Jack decides to pinch pennies and break his back in order to get what he earns. So literally, the difference here is that yes, Farmer Joe spends more money, and yet Farmer Jack puts in probably more physical labor into his gardens. However, in the end, realistically, because of Farmer Joe and his investments, he's going to get back way more in return. Now let's turn them both into knights. Knight Joe versus Knight Jack. Knight Joe, of course, invests money into his armor where Jack does not. And, well, we see what happens to Jack. Well, it's the same way with War Dragons. Knight Joe, who's willing to invest in War Dragons, is going to get far more rewards than someone who is not. So just keep this in mind when it comes to those that do spend money. In reality, guys, if it wasn't for Knight Joe, Knight Jack, unlike in the other situations, wouldn't be reaping from the rewards. Now, does that mean people should spend money or not? Well, it depends. Those of you that might have bills looming outside, knocking at your door, making calls, or even if you have kids at home that you need to be feeding, it may not be the best thing for you. However, if you do have a little bit of chump change laying around every month that you're willing to put into this, then why not? Now, when it comes to spending money in War Dragons, you need to know that there are two different types of spending. There's things like the elite memberships where you can pay out to get more rewards in the end, whether it's on, Atlas or in your regular side of War Dragons. And then there's those ones that I like to call those, spin bait methods. So these are going to be things that get you to go out and spend extra money at the very last minute because you really want those rewards. So you really need to know the difference between these two spendings. For example, with the bait spending, this is designed for impulse spending. People tend to spend more money this way. Where with the elite, this is designed in order to, reward the players that are willing to put in the money and do a long-term commitment. So if you're willing to spend money, you really should know where you should invest. And of course, the elite account is, to me, where I invest because, let's be realistic, it is a great place to begin. Now, please know, though, depending on how you purchase your elite account, it can be very expensive. Weekly, it comes up to $104 a year, where monthly it comes up to $60 a year in comparison to paying out the $40 for the annual membership. So if you are literally buying this weekly, you're making a huge mistake because the savings when you buy annually is tremendous. Now, I know a lot of you are like, but $40 is a lot of money. But how much do you spend a year on other things? Like shoes you don't need, those delicious coffees maybe at your favorite local cafe, cable TV, to watch sports or to buy their memorabilia, maybe even to hire other people to do your chores. There's also cosmetics and candy, and even dining out or going to the movies. So other people tend to spend this type of money on this game, and I thank them because their support is what pays for all of us. Like literally, guys, they are what keep the lights on at War Dragons. And this is allowing them to pay for, the support, the development, the growth and expansion, as well as your everyday bills and taxes expected by every business. Now, why shouldn't these players be rewarded for their investment? I mean, I think that it's completely fair. Now, here's the thing. Yesterday we did establish that unlocking the Mythic is cheaper in the past seasons. And of course, a lot of people have said, it takes a lot of money. Now, granted, it does. And again, thank you for all of you that spend all that extra dough to keep this game going. But I want to go over now, what about the Mythic itself? Now, in past seasons, I remember back in fall, the actual Mythic, the tier that you would go through, only had stones. And these stones along that branch were very, very cheap, like 100 sigils, a couple hundred sigils. It wasn't much at all. So in comparison to today's Mythics, it's quite expensive now. It takes more than 10 times more sigils to unlock the entire Mythic branch, guys. And it has lots of goodies along the way, yes, but they're no better than the goodies in the regular dragons. So it's like, I don't even know if for me, the Mythic is even worth going for. And that's why I've personally never even gone for one. So this is to me a slight issue. The fact that, yes, granted, they've not really increased the pricing on something else, but now the Mythic itself is very pricey. So yes, to get to the Mythic unlocked is one situation. Now guys, there are two ways to look at this. In one sense, yes, the Mythic is more pricey. However, before this, the price would increase on the mainline tiers, while the Mythic dragons stayed unaffected, which, if you think about it, really affected everybody and their cost to get their dragons at maximum that even weren't even going for the Mythic. So technically, in one sense, this does help out in preventing so much an increase on all the others. All right, guys, so I noticed as soon as I put this image into my video that I've messed up somewhere around spring 2017, and I'm not for sure what the number is supposed to be there, but we're going to flow with it. All right, so last night we went over the fact that the increase to unlock the Mythic has not gone up too dramatically. In fact, in comparison to some of the past seasons, it's actually cheaper. Now, as we discussed before, now the Mythic itself is more expensive, which on one hand sucks and on the other hand doesn't. If you're not going for the Mythic, then of course you're being saved that extra that they normally would put on the mainline tiers. However, if you're going for the Mythic, you're actually paying out more in the end. So like last season during the Summer Flare and the Springville, it was actually 9,500 sigils less to get the Mythic. And then I'm not for sure on Wintertide and how it went with that Mythic. And then it was about 3,000 sigils more whenever you would do the Nightmare Collection. It was about 12,000 more during the summer. And like I said, I've messed up on Spring's math there. I don't know if I forgot to update or what. But yet, this is 5,000 more expensive than the winter of 2016 and a whopping 20,000 more expensive than the fall season of 2016. So in comparison, on those past things, yes, there is a change when it comes to unlocking future, mythics, but not necessarily in the end once you unlock the Mythic itself. Now, keep this in mind. This does not include anything that you've had to pull up, pay out full price on after the 50% off that you didn't save. And keep in mind that these are Vanguard dragons this season. Now, one of the big things is, however, many are players that don't even see Vanguard in their horizon, and this is making them question altogether their investment into this game. Think back to when you were a low level and think about how far, like, for example, Obsidian felt. Back in the day when it's like, I'm never going to reach Obsidian. I know I never thought I would reach Garnet this soon. So you got to think about these players. If I have the elite account, for example, and if you're free to play and you're not even paying for the elite account, think about how far that horizon seems for them. And then, of course, to see all of these stones coming in and changing over the past year, it's like, how far will they go with this? I know personally, I began about a year ago, a year ago this month actually, and I've seen, it go from the Obsidian to, of course, I'm losing my words here, the Harbinger, and now to the Vanguard. And they've consistently done that. It's basically 2 stones every year. So you would imagine how wide this gap is actually going to become compared to a new level player that is just starting out in, your greens or lower, or somebody that's up in like level 500s that are like waiting for the next stone because they're at a standstill. So there really is this big difference between everything. And the thing is, guys, these various player levels are all competing for the highest level stones, which, if you think about it, isn't even right, because even league prizing divides, the levels of players. Now, here's what I suggest. A stone for stone unlocking, maybe starting at the Sapphire. And this is a win-win for both PG and players. Now, how is this a win-win? Think about it, guys. If you can get at least 2 of the dragons unlocked to Sapphire, then you would be able to unlock the Mythic up to that Sapphire stone. Or let's say you unlock it to the Obsidian, then you could unlock that Mythic up to the Obsidian. However, you wouldn't be able to go any further, of course, until you got the next stone level on each of the main tier dragons. It would be literally no different than if you were trying to breed something or level up something and it says, sorry, no, you have to breed 2 legendary dragons in order to unlock this level. So I think they should do the same concept with these stones on the Mythic dragons. And I think that this would be a great way to encourage lower level players to go for Mythics. Now, granted, this is going to suck whenever your Mythic dragon has, topped out, but it might even encourage some players to go a little further and see themselves going further if they really like that dragon. So again, a win-win for both PG and the player. Now, with this being said, I don't think that they would change this anytime soon. I hope that this would be something we could see in the future, because this is what's going to prevent discouragement of the smaller level players, yet give these larger rewards and these, bigger challenges to the larger players, or the larger spending players out there. Might, of course, encourage people once they get to that next stone to go even further on their main tiers and gather another one. So it's really a win-win. Now, this also prevents, like I said, that stressful headache that comes to those new players, or the free-to-play players, or those that don't have a lot of time and are still free to play or whatever. They're not going to be forced to go for such a high-level Mythic stone. And this is only going to get worse as the stones increase. And then, like I said, if we go back to the fact that the Mythic itself is increasing, and yet it's not actually changing the amount of goodies or the juiciness of the goodies in the actual prize. Now, granted, yes, back in the day it was just the stones, and now they do give us goodies along the way, but the price is like I said, 10 times more. Now, why will I never likely go for the Mythic? Because of the crap prizes. They're no different than the main line. So why would I go for a Mythic? Now, there are 2 ways to look at this, like I said before. The fact that this Mythic prevents, an increase on your mainline tiers the way it did before. And instead, this is where the Mythic itself shares the cost of increase over time. That is a great thing. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide where to send your sigils. Do you want to go and focus in on a mainline, tier and go for that Mythic? Or do you want to stick, to a little bit safer method and go with the discounts? It really is up to you guys. And that is the one thing that's great about the new branching system within War Dragons. The fact that you can choose to either go directly for a Mythic dragon and pay out all that if you choose to, or like I said yesterday in my video, that you could just go for a simply really awesome legendary and a really awesome rider. And then, of course, my choice is simple every season. I literally go for the discount dragon right off the bat, and then I take it as far as I can in that 2 weeks. Now, once the 2 weeks is up, I then go for my egg token bonus. Now, if I'm not happy with that dragon, I don't go back to that. I'm not going to go back and pay out more, and I never finish it. I usually get just to maybe the Sapphire Stone in the first 2 weeks. So then, like I said, I go to my egg token bonus so that I can get that booster for the rest of the time. And I usually go for the first one during that PvP. Usually there's a PvP during that time frame, and then I'll go to the next discounted dragon after that, or whatever it might be, and then I go back to my token bonus so that I get those great goodies for the next PvP. And then, of course, I start saving back the rest of my sigils after I get done with all this so that I can maybe save for a future surprise discount item. So that's what I do, and that's what I suggest anyone, out there does, especially if you're new at this and you're not spending a lot of money. Again, a non-mythic with a rider is still a very strong dragon. And of course, now you can get riders in Atlas, so definitely worth working on. Now, listen up, guys. Tomorrow is going to be the giveaway announcement, so be sure you check back tomorrow. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope that maybe this is something that, you know, pushes a change in PG, because it might be something that was overlooked. You know, I personally like the fact that the price is more, you know, bumped up on the Mythic versus the regular tier dragons, because it, you know, it allows the regular player to be able to work on a legendary without having to pay so much more for a legendary so that others can get Mythics very cheap. At the same time, I would like to see a stone to stone unlocking, so that, you know, mid-level players can still get their chance at these dragons. I think that would be very cool. However, again, once you top that dragon out, it's going to be junk to you. So would you rather have the Mythic that stops out at Sapphire or whatever, or would you rather have a legendary that takes you all the way? So that really, like I said, this gives you the choices, and that's the great thing about the branching. So with that being said, if you agree with me, be sure to put, you know, a big thumbs up. If you disagree with me, give me a thumbs down, I don't mind. And then, of course, join in the discussion and put what you think in the comment section below. Again, I don't think that it's corporate greed. I think it's more of an overlook or an oversight. And hopefully we can make some changes by speaking up together and giving suggestions. That's the best we can do. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. If you don't already subscribe to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And then, of course, if you don't have that bell hit, be sure to do so you don't miss out on future videos. Happy hunting!